Hello and welcome to Founders Amplified, where we spotlight underrepresented founders who are driving innovation and impact across various industries and sectors across the globe. I'm your host, Narayan Kulkarni, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Today's guest is Turana Alieva. Turana Alieva is the founder and CEO of Femite, a global platform dedicated to female empowerment. Originally from Azerbaijan and now based in Glasgow, UK, Turana identifies as a young woman of color from Eurasia. Born into a family of first-generation migrants in Russia, she is currently a migrant herself, bringing a deeply personal perspective to her work on equity and inclusion. She holds a master's degree in global markets, local creativities from the University of Glasgow, a master in social science from Uppsala University, and an MA in history from Göttingen University. Turana is also a recipient of the prestigious Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree Scholarship. Femite is a social business offering training and coaching services to individuals and organizations. It focuses on female empowerment through capacity building, community support, mentoring, and coaching, aiming to create sustainable impact across borders. So, now that you know a little bit about Turana, let's dive into the conversation. Welcome to Founders Amplified, Turana. Great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
Hello, Narayan. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here today, and I'm doing great. Looking forward to our conversation. How about yourself?
I'm also doing great. I mean, I can't complain. It's a nice sunny day. It's always great to have conversations on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to learning more about Femite and your journey. So I guess let's get into it. So first of all, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey. Can you tell me more about what led you to become a founder and if there was any moment or set of experiences that led you to that path or that really sparked that decision?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think it's important to share this background because it's basically about what Femite is, right? And the story of Femite. So the reason I started or my journey, I think it's my entire childhood that led me to this. So growing up in a patriarchal society where women and men had certain roles assigned to them, and certain rigid expectations made me realize that I just don't fit in and I don't feel comfortable in that. And as I kept growing up and seeing more and more barriers that women face, I just realized that something has to be done at a certain point. And when I did my master's thesis, I went to London to interview female entrepreneurs from South Asian communities. And there I've noticed that most women were facing similar barriers and similar challenges that I was facing, that people I knew in my network were facing. And it made me even firmer in my beliefs that, well, women are definitely facing serious challenges and these challenges need to be tackled. So later on, as I kept researching this topic even deeper, I saw that that was in 23 that only 4% of venture capital went to female-led businesses, whereas now it's even less than 2%. And I've also noticed that women that I knew from different countries while I was living in the UK, that they are facing similar challenges as well. And eventually, after graduation, when I was looking for jobs, I decided to look into support mechanisms available for me as a woman of color, as an immigrant looking for a job in the UK. And I just realized that most of those organizations had a very narrow approach. So they would whether provide a community support or a coaching or some sort of mentorship. And this narrow approach made it difficult for me to navigate across different organizations. And when you're already in a difficult position, you're already frustrated and you're already mentally down, you don't want to just keep reaching out to different organizations, knocking different doors just to get only one type of support. And that's how I came up with the idea of Femite, that we want to have a community which is taking this holistic approach, that here you've got everything you need. You've got the community you can reach out to and get support from. You've got coaching, you've got mentoring, capacity building, networks, workshops and events, as well as networking events. So that's basically how I came up with this idea. And currently, we do not only support female entrepreneurs, but just women from any background, as long as they feel like they share our values and that they fit in that like-minded community, they are welcome to join.
Wow, thanks for sharing. It's wonderful to hear how your personal experiences, as well as your academic experiences, both led to the founding and the creation of Femite. But I'd also love to know a little bit more about whether there are things in your story or your experiences or just your perspective that you feel give you a unique angle or a unique approach to what you're doing in Femite.
Well, I think there are two key things which are part of my identity and make me uh, have an upper hand, so to say, as a founder, as a female entrepreneur. So one is being a woman of color from underrepresented group or community, and the second part of my identity that contributes a lot to my vision is me being a constant migrant. And now I'll explain what I mean by that. So, being born to a family of Azerbaijani migrants in Russia, I was never seen as Russian. And even though I grew up there, I was born there, and I am a Russian citizen, so I was always seen as a migrant, which made me see myself as a migrant consequently. So I never felt as part of Russian society or never felt Russian. And then when we moved to Azerbaijan, I wasn't seen as proper Azerbaijani because I come from Russia and I was born and raised there. So again, I felt like a migrant back in my parents' country. And then moving to the UK, again, I was a migrant. And then after the UK, I had a chance to live in Sweden and Germany. And again, I was always carrying this identity of a migrant within that I never properly fitted in. So, which gave me a mindset of being flexible, but having my non-negotiables on table as well. So, I think being a founder is also about being flexible, but also having certain values and core vision that you are not going to negotiate on. So this is one part that gives me a unique perspective because you can be a founder and be super flexible and adaptable, but in the meantime, you may lose the sight of what truly matters to you as a founder. Um, or it can be the other way around. You can be super rigid with your strategy and idea and not adjust or be flexible enough to listen what your customers want, which can be another trap you don't want to fall into. So I think in my case, I've got this unique perspective, which makes me realize what are my non-negotiables as a founder and what are things that I can be flexible on. And being a woman, of course, building a female community, a community for women to thrive and grow together. It gives me a unique perspective because I come from a background where I've seen firsthand myself the barriers and the negative impact of those barriers on my life. and how I had to fight for some of my basic needs and rights and freedoms. Um, so yeah, I think these two parts of my identity give me a very unique perspective.
Wow, thanks for sharing. I appreciate hearing more about both how your perspective as your identity as a woman of color as well as a migrant contribute to your perspective. Something that you shared when you were describing Femite, one word that stuck out to me was holistic. And I'm curious about if you could tell more about the holistic support that you provide in Femite and what that looks like to the women that are part of your community.
Sure. Thank you for that question. So holistic is a very core or important part of FEMAID. The way we provide that holistic support is we basically combine practical tools like coaching, mentoring, capacity building, workshops, and events with personal development. So we believe firmly that our personal development is the key whether we want to succeed in our personal or professional life. And there is a connection between these two parts of our lives. So, since personal and professional lives are intertwined, we should be aware of that when building a community that supports women or people in general one way or another. So, and the way we take that holistic approach is that we try to be mindful of the fact that technical tools or practical tools, they can help you succeed up to a certain point. They can give you very great results in the short term, but in the long run, if you want to really achieve certain results, then you want to be mindful of your personal development as well. And this is where we incorporate the concept of self-confidence because people often oversee it as something that's coming externally, whereas we try to show that confidence is something that comes from within and you don't need external validation to build your confidence. It's usually part of a deeper self-work as well as active
Mm.
action because the more you take action, the more you train and build up your confidence.
Mm. Wow. Okay. I see. The perspective you shared on confidence as inner work and self like work and self-worth is very powerful, and I appreciate that you brought that up because I actually also had a question about this. So I one thing that I have noticed whenever I've been working with female founders of color is the self-worth part, the inner work part can be a very challenging thing, but there can be something very magical that comes from that when there's a lot of work done. So I'm curious from your perspective, and also from your perspective in working with Femite, how would not just the lives of individual people in your community, but also just women in general, like how would like the status for women shift if more and more women or women of color specifically developed that self-trust and they went ahead and took bold action, very courageous action, even before they quote unquote felt ready, or if the world showed signs that, okay, you are ready.
That's a brilliant question. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna mention that as we've mentioned before, self-confidence is something that comes from within, right?
Mhm.
Um, and there is a misconception that women lack self-confidence due to the lack of opportunities, which is true and part of the reason why many women are not confident enough. But another reason or big reason is that we often downplay our own strength and the world would shift a lot in a positive way if women felt ready or even felt ready to act before they feel fully prepared already. So this would possibly lead to a more diverse world where we have diverse voices that shape the policies around the world. And this would mean more inclusive leadership because often you will see that certain vacancies or positions are available, but there are less female applicants or not enough female applicants, which means that it's not sometimes it's not the lack of opportunities for women, but it's lack of their own confidence and readiness to take action and to be bold. So this would also mean that innovation would be more gender equal because often innovation comes from male perspective, which means that female perspective is being left aside. And again, it stems from women not feeling ready and not feeling worthy enough to voice their own opinion. So, if women could bring their unique perspectives to problem solving and to certain innovative ideas, I think the world would be a much better place. And of course, it would be empowerment of the next generation because girls looking up at women, at strong women who are taking action before they even feel ready, they would realize that confidence is something that is natural and something that you can build on, that you can build up throughout your life. So it's not something you have to earn. And we would also be encouraging people to cultivate the culture of courage, where you are told that you don't have to be perfect to start acting on something or to take your first step. Because in fact, when I started Femide, I didn't feel ready and I was not sure where to start from. And I kept postponing it for quite some time, which now and the retrospective I feel regretful about. But I'm glad I did, despite not feeling ready, not feeling motivated enough, or not having people who would help me, not having the right network yet. So I'm glad I started from somewhere. And I think this culture, the culture of courage, should be cultivated. And there would be a significant shift if we took action before we feel like we are ready.
Well said. Again, so many amazing points that you made there. Again, I also want to applaud you for starting Femite and creating that space for women leaders to come together and then grow in that holistic sense. So I appreciate that about what you've said as well. But that also makes me like leads me to another question, which so it sounds like from what you've shared and what you've told me so far, it is that there's a very unique way in which you hold space for women, which and women leaders, which perhaps they may not get elsewhere. And so I'm curious what makes well your community like Femi unique and important, but also how you hold space for the women in your community very unique and important.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an important point here and a great question that you asked. So I'll start with what makes Femite unique. So I think the first part is that we are um, questioning or challenging the status quo. So, by which I mean that there is this belief that women should take up or acquire certain masculine traits to be seen, heard, and to be seen as someone worthy of leading and following. Whereas we promote this idea of being feminine and staying true to your own nature and values. So you don't have to necessarily become that masculine character, and strength shouldn't be associated with masculinity. So this is the first thing, and that's how we hold space for women that you are already worthy, you are already enough the way you are. You don't have to become masculine to prove the world that you are important, that your voice matters. Also, we try to preach this idea that confidence is a right, it's not a luxury. And as I've mentioned, it comes from within, and I often like saying that it's like a muscle. You have it, but you need to train it. And we also hold space for each woman by letting them know that whether they come from a wealthy background or underrepresented community, they are always welcome, because very often we fall into this trap of seeing certain women coming from privileged backgrounds as privileged enough not to let them into certain communities, whereas our approach is different, because every woman, regardless of their socioeconomic background, may face certain challenges that they often don't talk about, and they don't feel ready or confident to share that. So we believe that no matter what's your socioeconomic background, what's your race, skin color, belief, you're always welcome as long as you share the values that we have. Um, and also another unique aspect of Female is that we we empower women through community support. That community matters a lot, and from experience, I often see that when women come up with a certain pain point or challenge, they often feel alone. But once they enter a community of women that are going through similar challenges, they feel so much better, so much more empowered, that they eventually start taking action, start supporting each other. So I think this combination of community support and at the same time acknowledging each individual being a unique person with a set of their own values and characteristics, what makes is what makes Femite unique.
I see. That's amazing. One thing which I appreciate that you just mentioned, and you also mentioned it when you shared earlier about Femite and the story, is the importance of a values fit to what you do. And so I'm curious, can you share more about some of the values that you look for and which are important to you, and how you realize those through your programs?
Sure. So our core values are inclusivity, are supporting each other, and action, because we truly believe that whatever you want to achieve, success, your next professional career goal or personal goal, it all comes from action. So, and of course, inclusivity and uplifting each other are key values that we share.
I see. Well said. How, with the programs that you're doing, the way that you're holding space for women, the way that you're um, engaging people in your community, how do you know that you are making an impact in their lives, but also in like a macro sense in our world?
Right. So we do that through holding open communication with our members. So through our networking events where we can come face to face and talk about it. And other than that, we also do that through our surveys. So upon completion of each program, we conduct surveys to see what are the impact that we've made in their lives, and if they've achieved their goals. And other than that, we also make sure to be attentive and open to their requests. And when it comes to global impact, so since we are new, we we are not doing that of a big global impact yet, but I'm sure in a few years we will reach to that point when we have women lifting other women, because we don't want to support someone and then just leave it there. We want them to in turn support others, so that then the impact is bigger. um, that's one way how we want to measure the impact we make globally. And of course, having local hubs in the future where we have this key regional hubs where women can get together and actually feel like they have a physical space where they can share their challenges or support each other or share their experiences.
That's very cool to hear that you have that expansive vision with like local hubs, for example, and also that you do surveys and ensuring that you are evaluating the processes and the ways in which you're doing your programs. But to dive a little bit deeper, what are some sustainable development goals or like that you might see Femite contributing to in like assuming that like it's really doing super amazing and like it's like 5-10 years into the future and it's like really driven that agenda. What are some SDGs that you see it contributing to?
We're definitely contributing to SDG number 5, which is gender equality, and we
Mhm.
are trying to make sure that in the future, female voices are heard on international level. Like, because certain events, I attended COP29 and I realized that women were not that present there. There was a huge gap between male and female participation, especially when it comes to decision-making positions. And we want to contribute to that as well. We want to make sure that next COP, whether it's going to be COP 40 or 45, that we will have this equality. And other than equality, we are thriving, we are trying to achieve equity, because equality does not often mean equity. And we want to make sure that we have a gender balance, but at the same time, we achieve gender equity as well.
Well said. Thanks for sharing. So I appreciate your reflections and your perspectives on both your journey with Femite and building it, but also what it means and the impact it could make on the world. But I'm also now curious about your personal journey as a founder. So what are some things that you have learned along the journey in creating, building Femite that you wish you had known prior to beginning the journey?
Right. Thanks for that question. It's it's something I'm gonna share and hope that the next female entrepreneur is gonna benefit from. So I think the first one is that confidence comes from action, not the other way around. And I've been waiting for quite some time to start Femite, as I mentioned earlier. I thought I was not ready enough. I didn't have the right skill set. I didn't have the community and network that I needed. And I wish I started it sooner than later. That's the first thing that now I reflect and think I wish I'd done earlier. And the second thing is being able to trust people more and delegate more, because now we've got a small team. So it's me and two more ladies in our team. Uh, but when I started, I did it totally by myself, started our website from the scratch, established online presence. And I was trying to juggle these multiple tasks at the same time, when in certain cases I didn't have enough experience and skills to do that. But at the same time, I didn't trust people enough to delegate it to someone and be like, hey, why don't you join so we can do it together? But once I started building up a team and trusting people more, I realized that things just become much easier. And if there are certain skills that you just don't have, and you know it's going to take longer for you to acquire that skill rather than hiring someone or involving someone in your team, then just go for the second option. Just find someone to do it for you, because while you're going to spend so much time and energy on learning a new skill, you're going to lose so much time and energy on not doing the other things that you're actually good at. So keep doing what you're good at, but at the same time, be aware that you can't be good at everything. And it's okay. Everyone has certain skills that they need to learn or they're not good at. So yeah, I think trusting people is another important aspect of being a founder, and knowing that you can't do everything alone, all by yourself. It's just impossible and not productive.
Very wise words. Thank you for sharing, Turana. How can people find you and how can they support your work?
So they can find us through our website, which is femai.org. I can spell it for you just in case, because sometimes people think it's uh, Femite with I. That it's F for Frank, E for Eco, M for Mother, I for India, T for sorry, G for George, H for Holland, and T for Tango.org. That's our website. There you can get access to our social media platforms as well. But if you search on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, as well as Facebook, you will find us just by typing Femite. That's how you can find us. And how you can support us, you can always join our community and spread the word across your network, and people that you know who might be interested. You can always join our events and use our services. Our upcoming event is actually it's a free webinar on 10th of May. We're gonna talk about building a business as a woman. So we will mention opportunities and challenges, especially for women of color. And you can also sponsor a woman to benefit from one of our services. So that's how you can support us.
Okay, thanks so much, Turana. I appreciate as well that you provided your website. We'll include information in the show notes as well. Now it's time for our signature question. So could you please fill in the blank? I amplify
voices of women that are not confident enough to share their own voices or to amplify their own voices.
Wow. Well said. Very profound, very simple at the same time. So, and also very Femite. So, thank you for sharing. And just thanks so much for sharing the journey about Femite, sharing about you, and sharing all of your amazing insights, Turana. It was just so cool to hear about the innovative and impactful work you're doing, and also some of the lessons you've had and the journey you've taken. I also want to pause and think about, I mean, we've had this conversation. We've also spoken previously a number of times. And something that I really appreciate about you and what you do is, there's an authenticity that I appreciate about which you've had challenge, and that you're doing something that is positive to work from that. I also just appreciate that you have a calm confidence with which you express yourself, which is very powerful and very impactful. I also appreciate that. And also something that I admire is, and you mentioned this a few times, is that even though it sounded like you had challenges and self-doubt, or you didn't feel like you were ready, you still took that courage, and that shows a level of courage and a willingness to take a step forward and an initiative. So I appreciate and applaud you for those three things. And I hope that not only like you see those as amazing strengths of yours, but also I hope that other women listening and other founders listening will see those and really see those in their own way and on their own journey. So I just want to celebrate those things that I appreciate about you, and I hope that people will see those and take inspiration from those, in addition to the amazing things that you've shared.
Thank you so much, Narayan, for the invitation and giving me a space to express myself here, and amplifying founders' voices as well, because I think it's very important what you're doing. It's giving a space to underrepresented founders, which will actually inspire the next generation of founders. It's a great work that you're doing. Thank you so much. And I applaud you on that, because it's not only important, it's also very inspiring as well.
Thank you so much, Torna. I also really appreciate your kind words. And again, thanks again for a wonderful conversation. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and wish you all the best with what you're doing with Femite and beyond.
Thank you too. Have a lovely day.
Bye. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Founders Amplified. I hope you're feeling as inspired as I am. If you'd like to learn more about our guests and support them, check out the show notes for their details. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating, share it with someone you know, and follow us for more inspiring episodes like this one. If you're a founder who is driving innovation and impact in any industry or sector anywhere in the world and would like to be a guest, we'd love to hear from you. Check out the show notes for more information. And finally, remember that you, yes, you, have the power to amplify the voices around you. Whether you're a colleague, family member, friend, funder, mentor, or just another fellow human, your support matters. So I invite you to celebrate and uplift the underrepresented innovators in your life who are driving innovation and impact. Let's create a better future for everyone, together. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep amplifying.